Hey guys, back with another work in progress video on my Kampfer. Really sorry about the background. I know it's probably getting a little boring to look at my user manual for the Kampfer, the instruction manual, but that's all I got for right now. I'm going to work on something else. I do have a little photo tent for when I take pictures, but a lot of times, I don't want to get that dirty when I'm sanding and stuff like that. So last time we went over all the metallics that we were using for the inner frame, and I got the torso and upper body all done. Put a little clear coat on them and assembled some of the pieces. So today I wanted to go over where I'm at with the armor and what I'll be doing today. To start off with, once you're done cleaning all your parts, you got all your nubs removed, you get everything sanded down, you want to wash all your parts. I know some people do it before they're building the model and everything's still attached to their runners. I like to do it afterwards. I figure I'm going to get them all dirty anyway, again with sanding them and everything, so I don't really mess with them while they're still in the runner. Once I get it all cut apart, assembled, and broken up into how I'm going to paint it, then I'll take them, and what I use is just a toothbrush, some regular dish soap, some warm water. Put it all together in like a Tupperware bowl. I take the parts, I brush them off, rinse them off with warm water, let them sit out and dry. You just don't want any of that mold release. It's what they put on the parts that's what Bandai puts on the parts when they are in the molding process, so that the plastic doesn't stick to their mold. And it's kind of like an oily substance, and it just won't give you the best adherence for your paint and stuff like that. So I did all of that to all of the upper body armor pieces and arm armor pieces. So I just wanted to go over one of the parts that's a little more complicated on this build. It is the shoulder armor. Now, I probably should have shown it to you before, sorry I didn't, but the shoulder armor was actually two pieces. It was the left and the right side, and they have a seam line running right down the middle, and we don't want that. We want to get rid of seam lines. I mean, you don't have to. If you don't mind, then that's up to you. It's your model. But the reason I want to get rid of it is it makes it look like a model. We want it to look as realistic as possible. So I don't know if you can see on the underneath where that peg is, right in there, that's where the two pieces come together. Now the difficult part about this one is there was no way to put it together and then stick the thrusters in. Now I have them taped up on the front here, but these have already been painted gold and this inside was silver. Some of that pokes through and you'll still see it. This is just some primer got on it, but you won't be able to see that once it's all done. And ideally you would like to put these pieces together with glue, which I'll show you in a second, remove that seam line, and then be able to slip all this stuff in there afterwards. But that's just not how this one's going to work. Now, in some cases, you can kind of modify. I don't know if you can see in there, it's held in right here and there. This piece goes in there and it gets sandwiched between the two shoulder armor pieces. Ideally, you'd like to go in there and maybe cut a little bit out so you could slide this in afterwards and then, stick a little glue in there or something if you need to. But because the armor kind of pinches down, that piece would not slide in there, no matter how much cutting I did, unless I literally cut away the armor. So what I had to do is paint that all up, the thruster and this metal part, paint it and tape the front of it off and then glue the pieces together, which it's a lot harder than, if you didn't have to do that, I guess. The challenge came with my own fault, and I will point out my mistakes to you guys when I make them. I went a little heavy on the tape, and when I tried to squeeze them together with the glue, I didn't get the best adherence. Now, I won't go over how to close a panel line or how to glue a seam line or remove a seam line, but I use, to me, a cement I got this from a buddy of mine in my build group, Brian. He goes by Bro Builder. He has his own YouTube channel. He does a lot of how-tos, and he's very good at them. So if you want to go check him out for how he removes seam lines, but he recommended this to me. I was using the Tamiya extra thin cement, which I have here somewhere. Give me a second. And anyway, I can't find it. Sorry. It's basically the same exact stuff. It's just thinner. The problem with the thin cement, in my opinion, is when you're doing bigger pieces like armor, it'll run a little too much, or it'll dry up a little too fast, and man, it's driving me nuts. I can't think of where I put this stuff. There it is. This is the extra thin cement. So it's really thin. It's like water. And when you're doing a big piece, like, it's not that big, but a bigger piece of armor, you have to put it on both sides and then squeeze it together, and you're hoping to have like a little ridge of glue come through there to give you something to sand. And with this, I just found on bigger pieces, or bigger armor pieces especially, it'll run too much and it'll dry too fast. Whereas the other glue, it's a little bit gluier, and it just works a little easier for me. So anyway, I have glued those pieces together. Now back here, you can see that's smooth already. I just was able to sand it down, and I put a little bit of primer on top, just to, you can see your mistakes. I had a couple little pinholes here and then up here, and what I use to close those pinholes is Tamiya basic type putty, and I use that just with a little toothpick. I put it on there, dab it on there. Once it dries, it takes a couple of hours. You can sand that smooth. And the hardest part has been this piece right here in front of the thruster. I don't know if you can see, it's got a curve to it, and there was a seam line running straight down the middle. It was just a real pain to get to, so I had to apply putty, sand it. It's really hard to sand because you can see based on my finger, it is a really small area. So you have to get some sandpaper and like roll it up and twist it in there as best you can. And it also has a panel line running right through the middle of it. So when you put the putty on there, you cover the panel line. You have to, rescribe that panel line. So it's a real pain, but I'm going to shoot some primer over this now just to make sure that I got that all covered. And I still have a little spot to sand back here because there was a little pinhole after my last sanding session. So I have a bunch of other parts to prime, and what I use for primer is Mr. Surfacer 1200. This is from Mr. Hobby, as you can see right there, and this is the gray colored one, and they make this in a couple of different grits. They make it in 1,000, they make it in, I believe, 1,500, and then it also goes down lower to, I believe the lowest one they make is somewhere around 400. I would say if you're just building a model and you're not doing any kind of resin to it or any kind of crazy modifications, you're probably either going to use 1,000 or 1,200, and then the color of it is going to depend on what you're painting underneath it. Like, I'm painting red, but I don't really want it that vibrant. But if you wanted like a really, really bright red, you'd get a white primer. If you were trying to paint white armor pieces and you wanted them really white, you'd get white primer. But gray works for me, and I like the 1200. I like how smooth it is. I know you can't really tell based on the armor piece I had, just because I've sanded it all up, but maybe over here you can see it's very smooth. Actually, you can see some dirt I got there. I'll have to sand that away too. And then this is not thinned. It does not come pre-thinned, so it's pretty thick. It's very goopy. And what I use to thin it is, you can't probably see that, Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. And this stuff works really well for thinning down your paints. The mixture, I can't tell you exactly. Again, it's like I said last time, you're just mixing it till you get the consistency that you're, of that milk consistency. Now, Mr. Color Leveling Thinner, what makes it leveling is it has a retardant in there. So what it's doing is actually stopping your paint from drying too fast so that it lays down nice and flat, which is really nice. I like the Mr. Hobby paints. They're lacquer, so you guys got to be careful. You got to make sure you're wearing a mask, a respirator, have some kind of ventilation. But they work really well. You get a really nice finish. The lacquers are a little more durable than the acrylics as far as like chipping, and they also dry very quickly, which can be good or bad, I guess. It's nice when you're painting things because you don't have to wait, like enamels take, 48 hours to dry. So if you're doing multiple coats or a different color where you have to mask it off, you're gonna have to wait a long time. So that's where I'm at today. I'm gonna try to get all of the armor pieces for the upper body and the arms all primed, and the way I have them separated is color. So once I get those primed, then I'm going to apply the two different red bases. I don't have anything outside of the red on these particular ones. And then I'm going to lay down a clear coat, and I'm going to use that Alcalad gloss clear coat that I used on the inner pieces, on the metallic stuff. I'm going to use that on the armor as well. You want to use a gloss coat after you're done painting, because for this I'm going to be using some water slide decals, so you want gloss coat for that. I'm also going to be panel lining some of it. You want gloss coat for that. It's going to help you out. So like I've said in past videos, I'm not going to show myself painting. It's not very fun. I can't talk to you because I have a mask on and my booth is pretty small. Someday soon here I'll do like a workshop video where I show you where I work, and I'll show you the booth I have and some other cool stuff, but we'll get to that at some point. So I am going to cut it off for now. This will probably be the only bit of work in progress I have for this particular video. Probably the next time you see me, I'll have all the armor painted and clear coated, and I'll show you where we're going from there. I'll show you some of the decals we're using and I'm using, and what's left of the model. All right, so I'll talk to you guys soon. Take it easy.